Donald Trump is panicking as 3 American planes have been shot down by Iran in the past 48 hours, 2 in the past 24 hours. 5 Americans have been injured. Some may be seriously injured as a result of Iranian retaliatory strikes after the United States hit Bandar Abbas, a port city in the Strait of Hormuz. If you're saying, well, when did all of this happen? I never heard about this. Exactly. The Trump regime is covering it up, although Bloomberg did some good reporting, and we have some video footage as well from Iran showing the planes that were actually hit by Iran as they've developed much more sophisticated air defense systems. And so 3 MQ-9 Reaper drones were destroyed by Iran in the past 48 hours. About 48 hours ago, 1 MQ-9 Reaper destroyed. In the past 24 hours, 2 MQ-9 Reaper drones. And these are these drones. Some of them have these Hellfire missiles. They're utilized over the Strait of Hormuz to try to intimidate, threaten, and harass Iran. And Iran's been able to really lock in on these with their radar and with their air defense systems. They've shot down now many of these MQ-9 Reapers, perhaps even totaling as much as $1 billion of MQ-9 Reapers have been destroyed. But you can see some of the video footage right here that Iran is releasing. This is new footage of yet another MQ-9 Reaper. And if this seems a little bit like deja vu because I report about these MQ-9 Reapers like every other day, this is happening on a consistent basis while the Trump regime covers it up, while CENTCOM covers it up, while the entire media apparatus here covers it up, although hat tip, Bloomberg did do a story on that. Another thing to point out as well, it appears that 5 Americans were injured. Some may have been seriously injured in the air base in Kuwait. So remember the sequence of events earlier this week. The United States violates the ceasefire. They strike Bandar Abbas in Iran, this port city, at around 1 a.m. in the morning, remember? Then at 4:30 a.m., Iran responds, and Iran hits this air base in Kuwait that's controlled by the United States. We didn't hear much about it. Well, now we're learning more. And what we're learning is that 5 Americans were injured in this strike, and that is now being covered up by CENTCOM, by the Trump regime. They cover up everything. I remember how I reported earlier this week that when Donald Trump was in Walter Reed for that highly suspicious visit, oh, and by the way, Donald Trump, White House, they released the medical report. I don't want to call it that. I put that in quotes. Medical report Friday night, which has all of these red flags. I'll do a whole other video about all the major red flags about Donald Trump's medical report from Walter Reed. The whole thing seems like such an utter sham. And I'll release that video this morning as well. But remember, Donald Trump refused to meet with the 14 service members who were injured seriously and being treated in Walter Reed. He didn't want to be associated with them because it would remind Americans that this was a catastrophic and unlawful war that resulted in a lot of casualties. Yeah, that's why they're now covering up 5 Americans injured in Kuwait in the past 48 hours, mind you, because the Trump regime wants to pretend that there's a ceasefire and that they're so close to a deal. And then every Sunday evening into Monday morning, Barack Ravid at Axios says, okay, we're really close to a deal right now. We're about to do it. The deal's really going to happen this time. It manipulates the market, the Dow, the NASDAQ. S&P soar, Donald Trump stock trading, the Trump kids are making a lot of money, Donald's making a lot of money. He did 3,800 stock trades in the first quarter alone during the war. He's like addicted to stock trading during the war because he can manipulate the whole thing. And in his fraud mind, it's like, wait a minute, I could finally just manipulate everything and make all this money. 3,800 stock trades. So a stock trade every 9 minutes is what he's doing. But they want to cover up the reality because they know if the American people know the reality, that's going to hurt Donald Trump's stock trading. It's going to hurt the money that they're making. It's going to hurt the oligarchs and their stock manipulation that's taking place. So here's what we learned. Iranian missile strikes on Kuwaiti airbase injured 5 Americans. An Iranian Fatah 110 ballistic missile struck the Ali Al Salem airbase in Kuwait, injuring roughly 5 Americans and maybe more, but we know at least 5 Americans injured, which include both both active duty personnel and contractors, and destroying at least one MQ-9 Reaper drone worth approximately $30 million, while seriously damaging another, Bloomberg reports. Kuwaiti air defense intercepted the missile, but falling debris caused the casualties and damage. And I guess we should put that in quotes too. Falling debris caused casualties and damage. That's the line that all these Middle East countries use. It wasn't the drone that attacked us. It was the falling debris that hit. No, it's the drones that are hitting. It's the missiles that are hitting. Let's be clear. The Pentagon's previous casualty report for Operation Epic Fury listed 14 Americans killed and 409 injured since the war began February 28th. And then we're learning about more MQ-9s that have been destroyed. Hat tip to Dropsite for that good summary right there. And my rule of thumb with Donald Trump fraud is that you either have to multiply by 10 to 50 or divide by 10 to 50, depending on which way he wants to defraud, if he wants to make it less or if he wants to make it more. So my view is if they say 409 people were injured, my estimate, you don't have to believe me, but my estimate, knowing Donald Trump's fraud habits, just multiply it by 10 and say, maybe there's 4,000 injured or so. It would be my estimate, knowing that Donald Trump lies. So then in the past 24 hours, 2 more drones were reportedly downed in Iran. And so that was on Friday. So the others Wednesday, Thursday, then Friday, 2 more MQ-9 Reapers. And you can see, the Iranians are sharing video on their social media. Yes, they have social media. Yes, they have a Navy. Yes, they have an IRGC. Yes, they have their ability to, in fact, Iran's ability is better than I think when the war started. About the same or perhaps slightly worse. Some say it could be possibly better, but the bottom line is they continue to knock down MQ-9 Reapers. Reports and social media footage suggest the U.S. may have lost 2 more MQ-9 Reaper drones on Friday. One drone was downed near Iran's Qashem Island, while another was reportedly shot down over Yemen's Marib province. Each MQ-9 Reaper costs more than $30 million, and it seems like we're losing 2 or 3 of these a day at this point. So about $100 million in MQ-9 Reapers being lost every day or every other day. And then at 12 a.m., 12:05 a.m., Donald Trump has this meltdown as usual. And here's what he posts. The failing New York Times is doing everything to criticize the magnificent restoration of the reflecting pool located between the 2 America's most important landmarks, the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. Okay, get over your reflecting pool, okay? You are beyond weird about the reflecting pool. Oh, and by the way, the Kennedy Center is not going to be named the Trump Kennedy Center anymore. That was an act of vandalism. A federal judge ruled, and Donald Trump lost it over this federal judge ruling that said that Trump has to immediately remove his name from the Kennedy Center, immediately open up the Kennedy Center. He shut it down, and to stop vandalizing it and destroying it and ripping apart from the inside, a federal judge issued a powerful injunctive order against Donald Trump saying, get your name off that. Donald Trump was spiraling all last night about that. He posted a 500, 600 word essay on social media. I was going to make it beautiful. It was going to be great. But if I can't do it, nobody can do it. Nobody can do it, I tell you. Also, very disgustingly, Donald Trump kept on posting videos and photos of the woman who he sexually assaulted. What a sicko. Trump was found civilly liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll in a federal trial. Then Trump ordered, or rather, his DOJ, he set in motion or ordered his DOJ to criminally investigate E. Jean Carroll. It's been reported for lying under oath when she didn't lie under oath in a case that she prevailed on, where a jury ruled against Donald Trump unanimously. All of the jurors agreed that Donald Trump sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll and defamed her. But in that case, Donald Trump says that she engaged in a crime in a case that she won against him, where he was the loser and found liable for sexual assault. And now he's posting photos and videos of E. Jean Carroll while 5 American service members or contractors were injured in Kuwait that's being covered up, and 3 planes are destroyed while they're faking the ceasefire. This is what's going on right now. Are you kidding me right now? Here's what Donald Trump's posting about E. Jean Carroll. Never forget that E. Jean Carroll called rape sexy. So Donald Trump saying that the woman that he sexually assaulted called rape sexy. Never forget that Trump accuser E. Jean Carroll called rape sexy on live TV. How sick is this guy? How disgusting is this guy? And then he has his regime puppets like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He was speaking at a Reagan Foundation event, and he's like, "Well, we didn't do regime change, but we changed the regime in Iran." What are you talking about? Here, play this clip.
The Iranians have engaged as they could. I would point out we did not have regime change, but we changed the regime. The first level leaders decapitated, the second level decapitated, so we're dealing with the third level, and it's very tough.
Then Trump's Treasury Secretary Pete Hegseth is at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. Here's what he had to say. Let's play this clip.
For too long, polite pleas from our European allies to spend more on their own defense fell on deaf ears. They're finally playing catch up, and we let ourselves get distracted by empty globalist rhetoric about the rules-based international order, while European capitals threw open their borders and hollowed out their militaries. You can have all the rules you want, and rules are great, but if you can't back them up with hard power, the rules are not worth the paper they are written on.
Oh, great. Just bragging about ripping to shreds the world order. And he's like, who cares about rule-based orders? No one cares about rule-based orders. Oh, and then you have Trump's head of one of the architects of Project 2025, Kevin Roberts, bragging that Donald Trump's implemented the full Project 2025 vision. Here's what this guy had to say. Play this clip.
Did the president implement Project 2025 in this first year plus of his second term?
Well, thanks for that question, because since 1980, Heritage has been offering presidential transition projects, which we generally call Mandate for Leadership. What's known as Project 2025 was done on such a scale that we proposed 1,913 recommendations. 1,055 as we sit here have been implemented. The person who deserves credit for that is one Donald J. Trump. If we played a role through our policy scholarship, through message testing and helping to craft public opinion upstream of electoral politics, that's great. Heritage exists not to take credit, but to offer great ideas.
More from Hegseth at the Shangri-La event in Singapore. And here's how China is reporting on the event. South China Morning Post. Speaking 2 weeks after the meeting between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, Hegseth also adopted a cautious stance on U.S. arms sales to Taiwan when questioned. And this is the China headline. How U.S. Defense Chief Hegseth softened his tone towards China after Trump and Xi meeting. Xi Jinping. And then Hegseth at this event in Singapore said that Donald Trump is being very patient with the deal in Iran. He's only going to make a great deal. It's going to be a great one. It's a deal, a great deal, a fantastic deal. Deal. They're just going to keep on talking about deals. Not going to do one. They're just going to say deal. Here's what Pete Hegseth had to say. It's so humiliating. Here, play this clip.
Secretary, is the U.S. pausing weapon shipments to Taiwan?
You said any deal would be a good deal. Can you expand on that with Iran?
What did the president
Would any
do?
deal really be a good deal?
I love the disingenuous questions from the disingenuous press. Said it will be a good deal. That's a very important clarification that maybe CNN can get right.
What did the president express to you on the phone?
Thank you. Patience. The president's patient. He's only going to get a great deal. And I know we'll get a great deal. That's not any deal, that's a great deal. And he was resolute in that, which I think is what the world would want the President of the United States to do. Thank you, guys.
Great.
And I'll show you what a distinguished Columbia University professor, Jeff Sachs, had to say about what the United States needs to do. Listen to his perspective. Let's play it.
Well, you stop. The United States should go home. We don't even need an agreement. We just need to go home. And then one could say, well, what would Iran do if the United States just went home? I'll tell you what Iran would do. It would open the Strait of Hormuz. It would do nothing bad in its neighborhood because Iran wants the U.S. to go home.
And meanwhile, the Iranian port authority that they use to collect tolls now posted the following message. The U.S. Treasury Department recently announced sanctions on the PGSA. That's the Iranian control organization in the Strait of Hormuz. PGSA, while condemning this action, considers being sanctioned by a country whose leader takes pride in piracy a sign of its own positive performance. You will not gain control over the Strait of Hormuz, which you failed to achieve through warfare and diplomacy by means of sanction either. Despite the provocative actions of the United States in the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, this body continues without interruption to review and grant passage permits to non-hostile vessels in order to facilitate navigation. Statistics from the first month of the PGSA's activities will be published soon. In other words, Iran is showing that it is unfazed by the Trump regime's additional sanctions against it. You also have their National Security Council, one of their National Security Council leaders in Parliament, Abraham Azizi, says, Trump must know that Iran, as the victor and conqueror of the field, sets the terms. Criticism for criticism, credit for credit, nothing for nothing. Of course, for the matters under negotiation, not his wishes. Or Abraham Azizi, another member of parliament, says, Iranian management of the Strait of Hormuz has been solidified worldwide, which is why countries obtain permission, pay the costs, and with the guidance of the IRGC Navy, pass their vessels through. The only one who hasn't believed it or doesn't want to believe it is Trump. Every now and then he sends his army to open the strait. They come and get beaten and go back. Mr. Besson, Treasury Secretary Besson, instead of all the extra huffing and puffing, think about bowing to the power of the Iranians in the Persian Gulf. So that's how they feel about it in Iran. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. And thanks for watching, everybody.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.